So, obviously, the Lakers did lose 4. Also, in that game, AD went down with a groin injury, and he's questionable for tonight's game, Game 5, which more likely he's probably not going to play. And even if he does play, he's not going to be effective at all. That groin injury looked very severe on Sunday. So, the biggest question, are the Lakers done? I'm going to go with you.
So, are the Lakers done? It's not looking good. I don't want to say that they're done because they're the champs, and you know that the old saying, "It's not over until the fat lady sings." But I think that there are some things that are concerning, and if our resident, LeBron fan was on right now, he would probably be rolling his eyes at about what I was about to say. But let's go back. Let's look at what happened in the bubble last year. All right. What happened before the NBA playoffs? The pandemic happened. Here's the thing, and when you say this, people get mad and they'll say, "Oh, you're trying to take this away from LeBron." No, nobody is. LeBron is 36 years old. The pandemic actually helped the Lakers last year. It did. Think about it. They got 4.5 months off. So basically, when they got back into the bubble, you had a fresh LeBron James and you had a fresh Anthony Davis. Yep. It was almost like they had an entire offseason or whatever. And on top of that, let's throw this out there too. They were the team that benefited the most from injuries last year in the bubble. You look at the fact with Dame Lillard missing the last game of the half of that series. You look at the fact Russell Westbrook was coming off of a knee surgery. Daniel House basically got kicked out the bubble for letting a person into the hotel. You look at the fact that Gary Harris and Will Barton. Well, Will Barton didn't even play in the bubble, and Gary Harris wasn't himself. And then you look at the finals. Bam Adebayo and Goran Dragic, they get hurt in game 1 or whatever. So the Lakers benefited a lot last year. Now, am I saying that it was a cheap championship? No, they won a championship fair and square, but they benefited from a lot. Everything for you to win a championship, man, a lot of stuff has to break your way. Look at the Warriors. 2018, Chris Paul gets hurt. If Chris Paul probably stays healthy in that series, KD probably is only with one championship during his stay in Golden State. You look. A lot of things have to break right for you to win a championship. And do I think that they're done? No, I don't think that they're done. But I think that on a scale of 1 to 10, I think that you have to say the concern level is a 7.5 or an 8, because Chris Paul actually looked kind of healthy last game. And you can make a legitimate argument if Chris Paul doesn't get that stinker, man, the Suns are probably up 3-1 right now, looking to close him out right now.
Big time.
Yeah.
Thad, what you got?
I'm a Magic fan, but I'm also a LeBron fan. So I really, really want the Lakers to win. But without AD, there's no shot. Without AD, they can, if his injury's long term, 3 to 4 weeks, I think they're done. But I think they can get out of this series unless CP3 shows tonight that he's above 85%. Because, game 2 and game 3, he was, I wouldn't call him a liability, but he kind of was on the offensive end. He couldn't really do much. Couldn't even pass the ball properly how he wanted to. But, I think the Lakers they can get out of this series. I think LeBron can do enough and get a little bit of help. But any further, no. Who would they end up playing in the next round? Would they be playing Utah?
They would probably they would play the winner of the Denver Utah, and which, by the way, Denver Portland, they probably maybe could get out of that too, but
no, I don't think they can maybe Portland, but I think they can get Denver. I don't know. It's tough. I don't know. LeBron's just not getting enough help. If he was, if this was 3 years ago when he was in Cleveland, I'd say that they'd still be fine. But Kuz, I don't know what's going on with Kuz. They're not where he thought he was going to be. KCP has been injured. Wesley Matthews hasn't played like that. THT hasn't played like that. Montrezl Harrell has been DNP for the last 2 to 3 games. I understand that because he's clogging up the lane, but he's not getting a lot of help from anybody. Schroeder, you think they get more out of Schroeder too? The Hawks and for the Thunder, he was a bucket getter, and that's what they need. And sometimes he can't create on his own, which I hate it. And I don't want to sound like LeBron needs help, but he's Father Time's catching up to him. I can actually see him getting older for once. He's not as quick. He's not as explosive. So he has to depend on other people, and I just feel like he won't get the help he needs. And without AD, there's no shot. But I never give up on LeBron. Maybe he won't be as passive tonight and be more aggressive because he hasn't been as aggressive as usual. So if he can do that and those guys can hit those open shots, so he's gonna find them. I think they'll do enough to get out of this series, but I don't see them making it back to the finals, sadly. And with the way the Clippers are looking, that they looked over this weekend, I think they're back in the driver's seat for the favorites to come out the West if they can close out this series versus the Mavs.
Yeah, that's the thing. They just got to get together, and that's one thing too. Like, the other that's another story on itself with the Clippers. But now as far as the Lakers, are they done? As far as, to me, championship wise, I don't think they're gonna repeat. I think at this point, this injury with AD is very serious. Tonight is a pivotal game for them. Like, to me, I think if the Lakers win tonight, they're gonna win the series. I think whoever wins tonight is gonna win the series, honestly. Because I can see AD not playing tonight and then in game 6 playing, and then forcing a game 7. And game 7 is a crapshoot. And I mean, if I'm at a game 7, LeBron James on the road, even though he's slightly older, So, Lakers are done as far as a repeat champion. I can see them maybe going in the second round potentially. Like you said, probably it depends on Portland, Denver, because that series now is tied up. It'll be another potential banana boat series with his other fellow banana boat, but it with Chris Paul and then maybe Carmelo as well in the second round potentially. But I just think, like you said, this team without AD effectively is crushing. And then especially with that growing, I don't really think he's gonna be able to kind of be as effective and aggressive. Because you think about, I think last time he was really aggressive was maybe game 2, not game 2, but game 3-ish, right around that time period.
And Chris, the thing is with AD as well, man. It's not only that his groin is hurting him, but it's his knee that's hurting him, man. You have to realize, man. You have to kind of question. He's not healthy, man. And when you're not healthy, you kind of compensate other parts of your body, and then that's how you end up. That's how you end up getting hurt even more, or whatever. And I think that even if he was to play, the biggest thing that Anthony Davis does, he's their best shooter. Like, he's legitimately, you have to say he's their best shooter. But what he brings defensively as a rim protector, man, without him, man, and with the groin, man, you're not going to be able to move well laterally or whatever. I mean, I don't think that Cleveland is going to be afraid to drive against them, man. And I think that, already the other issue, him not being in the lineup is going to cause too. With him being their best shooter, spacing is going to be a huge issue as well, man. And I think the best thing Vogel can do tonight, if AD cannot play, man, I think that he needs to swap out Drummond and play Gasol, man, because at least with Gasol is a threat on the perimeter. He can hit shots. And I also don't think, why are you playing Drummond over Gasol, man? What's the upside? I mean, Drummond's not a good defender. I mean, even though Gasol's not what he was back when he was at Memphis, I mean, Gasol's still a plus defender. Exactly. He's better than Drummond is. I mean, and he's a better offensive player than Drummond is as well, too, as far as I'm concerned, because Drummond doesn't have good hands. I mean, and he's not good at the rim. He misses a lot of shots at the rim. So I don't understand what this whole play Drummond thing is. I don't get it, man. I really don't.
Yeah, I know, and that's one thing too, where like you said, because Gasol is good, he's good for this series. Well, I think that's what they need, especially when you got Aiden out there. You definitely need a rim protector. And I think, and then the biggest question mark is can they hit their threes? Because they get a lot of open looks at threes, which they've connected 30-something% in this series, where it's just I mean, they give you clean looks. Go for them. I mean, connect on them. Not so go for them, but connect on them. And then just the role players, I think the biggest one that really got to step up is Kyle Kuzma.
He's gonna start tonight, I think, if AD's not playing. So
Yeah, man. And
he's got to have a game, and that's one thing too. Where it's just like, we don't want to kind of pile on LeBron, but the role players got to step up in this matchup. When these best out of 3 series now at this point.
If I'm not saying these are the same guys, but if LeBron could get the help and his guys to make shots, how Luka was getting Finney-Smith and Hardaway Jr. to hit the shots in the first 2 games of the series, like, be a whole different ball game. But I don't understand all these players. Like, they're on other teams, they're hitting shots, but as soon as they come to play with LeBron, it's like they're a completely different player. I don't know if it's the pressure or what it is, but
I think that the biggest thing that I think, man, because I've often wondered that too. I think it's just that it's a different game, and I think that when you're with LeBron, man, you're probably not going to get that many opportunities. And then I think that sometimes these players they put pressure on themselves, like, well, I'm getting these open shots, I need to make them, and I don't think they're playing as loose as they are when they're playing with other people. I think that's one of the issues. But I think last year in the bubble, man, I think that, like, a lot of people read too much into that. It was not a normal playoffs. You weren't on the road. You weren't dealing with, like, these crazy fans. You weren't dealing with your home fans either. The disappointment when you miss these open shots. And I think it was basically like last year, the NBA playoffs was like playing at a University Fieldhouse, man. It was like playing at a University Fieldhouse, and it was the playoffs, man. Yeah. But like it wasn't the same, and that's the thing that I took away last year from the playoffs.
Yeah, and to your point too, and I think we've always talked about this ad nauseum, where there's a point where at the end of the day, the onus is going to be on you, versus, like you said, if you had like if the Mavericks lost and Dorian Finney-Smith misses a game-winning shot or whatever, they necessarily ain't going to blame him per se. But we know with the Lakers situation and what happens, it's going to fall on you. Because, like, I remember in Game 5 of the NBA Finals last year, they was killing Danny Green for missing that shot. So, I mean, like you said, it's just a difference. Like you said, it's more like a pressure. And you know that pretty much if you don't hit this shot, you can hear it from the media. You can hear it from everybody in Lakerland. You can hear it from everywhere. It's a pressure. Like even now you thinking about it as far as pressure, even with now it's even more amplified because of the Lakers. So yeah, I definitely agree, as far as that is concerned. And yeah, like the bubble was weird because like you said, it was a situation where it was like it was a tournament. It was like an AAU tournament in essence where you really didn't have no distractions. Well, that's when we seen basketball because I mean, what can you do? I mean, all you're really doing is sitting in your room, eating, and doing what you got to do. So that's all. That was really the main focus versus I'm not saying now there's a difference, but there are certain things you can do things now, especially now that we out and about, they can go out, have dinner, do this, have family over, this and there, have different things. So the focus is not as how it is, when at the bubble where you just balled, just balled in the bubble, and that makes a great segue. So let's talk about LA's the team they beat last